The hall is silent. The year is 1913. A young man, having failed his college examinations not once but twice, sits in a small office in Madras. He has no degree, no formal training in advanced mathematics, and his grades in every subject other than math were abysmally low. To his professors, he was a failure of the system, a student who simply could not comply with the broad requirements of a standard education. Yet, he is holding a pen, writing a letter to a world-renowned professor at Cambridge. Inside that envelope aren't just symbols. They are the secrets of the universe, theories on divergent series, and the Riemann-Zeta function that would take the rest of the world a century to fully grasp. This was Srinivasa Ramanujan. Ramanujan's life teaches us a haunting truth. A grade is merely a measure of how well you can sit still and repeat what you were told. I emphasize it again. A grade is merely a measure of how well you can sit still and repeat what you were told. It is not a measure of the actual fire inside you. Good evening, everyone. This is Aadya Rachamalla of Grade 10, Paramita High School, Karimnagar. I welcome you all for days worthy deliberations at this wonderful TEDx platform. We live in a world obsessed with the snapshot. You take a picture of a student's brain at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. Call it a final exam and decide that the resulting number defines their worth for the next 50 years. You have built a global civilization on the back of a metric that is fundamentally flawed. Today, I want to challenge the very foundation of that metric. I want to argue that grades don't define intelligence because they primarily measure our memory, test-taking skills, and compliance rather than creativity, problem-solving, or emotional intelligence. Okay, wait. Why do we keep equating high scores with high intelligence? The reality is that our current grading system is designed for the industrial age, not the age of innovations. If you can memorize a textbook and regurgitate it under pressure, you are labeled gifted. But true intelligence is a mosaic. It is a multifaceted involving adaptability and practical applications in the real-world scenarios. Academic scores are just the narrow and temporary snapshot of performance. They define your ability with how you follow a specific set of instructions within a specific time frame. But the world does not work in 90-minute intervals with multiple choice options. In the real world, problems are messy. They are ambiguous. They don't have an answer key in the back of a book. The Belgian playwright Maurice Maeterlinck once said, "At every crossway on the road that leads to the future, each progressive spirit is opposed by 1,000 men appointed to guard the past." I repeat it again. At every crossway on the road that leads to the future, each progressive spirit is opposed by 1,000 men appointed to guard the past. Our grading system is that guard. It rewards the students who follows the path already cleared, but often punishes the one who wants to hack a new trail through woods. When we prioritize compliance over creativity, we aren't measuring intelligence. We are measuring obedience. When you look at a student's GPA, you think you are measuring their potential. In reality, you are seeing our history. You are seeing how we performed in a controlled artificial environment, just like the Sufi poet Hakim Sunai wrote centuries ago. The blind man's idea of the candle is the heat of the flame, not the light it gives. When we focus on grades, we are like the blind man. We can feel the heat of the competition, the pressure, the rankings, the stress. But we completely miss the light of the student's actual potential. Intelligence is the light. It is the ability to see a bridge where others see a chasm. It is the emotional intelligence to lead a team through a crisis. It is the social intelligence to emphasize with a stranger. These are the skills required to build civilizations, but they carry zero weight on a report card. Let us take an example. I may struggle to calculate the velocity of a falling object on my physics paper, yet possesses that intuitive engineering intelligence to rebuild a motorcycle engine in my own garage. Which one is intelligent? The paper says the first, but the world knows it is the second. There is a lesser known Sanskrit proverb from Subhashitavali that translates, knowledge is burden to him who has no wisdom, just like an ornament is burden to the one who has no strength to wear it. When you focus on grades, you provide students with ornaments, just like titles, certificates, and high percentage. But you fail to give us the actual strength of critical thinking. You create a generation of A-grade students who are terrified of making mistakes. But intelligence requires the courage to be wrong. It requires the willingness to experiment, to fail, and then to adapt. If you are not failing, you are likely not doing anything truly intelligent. Instead, you're simply following the instructions. True intelligence is found in the practical applications of knowledge. It is not enough to know the theory. One must have the adaptability to use it when circumstances change. Okay, if grades don't define intelligence, then what does? First, adaptability. The world is changing faster than our curriculum to keep up with. The ability to unlearn and relearn is the highest form of intelligence in this 21st century. Second, synthesis. This is the ability to take two unrelated ideas and weave them into something new. This is where innovation lies. Third, resilience. The intelligence of will. The ability to persist when answer isn't obvious. I request you to please stop treating us like data points. When we come home with a low grade, you shouldn't ask what is wrong with you. You should ask which part of your intelligence did this test fail to capture. The Italian philosopher Giordano Bruno, before he was silenced for his revolutionary ideas, said, "The soul has no limit, and intelligence is the ship that sails the infinite." Our schools are trying to keep the ship in a tiny artificial pond. You tell the students that if they hit the walls of the pond, they have failed. But ship wasn't made for a pond, it was made for the ocean. We need a competency-based approach of life. Thanks to Paramita, we are measured with competency. We need to return to the pursuit of true wisdom, a kind of intelligence that solves the world's hunger, seals its sickness, and understands its neighbors. Our current grading system is built on showing off and attracting the attention through rankings. Our intelligence is not found in the ink of a teacher's pen, but in the fire of our own curiosity. So please don't let the narrow and temporary snapshot to define our infinite landscape of minds. I leave you with a thought from our ancient roots, a prayer for the true awakening of an intellect, not just by memory, but from a divine spark for the understanding and that connects us all. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amrutam Gamaya, Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. This means lead us from the unreal to real, lead us from the darkness to light, lead us from the death to immortality, may there be peace, peace, and perfect peace. Because true intelligence is not about the marks on a page. It is about the light that leads us from the darkness of ignorance into the reality of wisdom. Thank you.